Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Rustabout Collector here, and today I'm reviewing this, the Star Wars or Disney Star Wars toy box, Ahsoka, Tano, and Captain Rex. This is actually my first venture into the toy box line. I've always wanted to kind of take a look at it, take a peek at it, but when they released Captain Rex, I couldn't help myself. I really couldn't. I think this is the perfect one to jump into, and maybe this will be my only one. Like, maybe they won't release any more characters from the Clone Wars, specifically Clone Troopers. If they don't release any more Clone Troopers, maybe this will be my first and only venture into the line. But either way, I'm curious to see how they hold up. I've seen some reviews on YouTube of other figures. I think they look great, but yeah, it's curious to see an action figure from a company that isn't Hasbro and to kind of compare quality and how they interpreted the characters, because it's definitely a unique take. Although it does kind of look like Galaxy of Adventures, it's definitely not. It's maybe a little bit more stylized. So yeah, let's jump into it. First off, the packaging, it's really pretty simple. It's pretty plain. I don't mind it. It's kind of sleek in the way that it's not overly designed. You have like the little Imperial walls back there, and then the rest is just white with the logos, and the logos and branding here. Warning, this is not for small children because they might choke on the blasters and stuff. So, you know, it's simple. It's something that a kid might see on the peg and grab it. You know, it's not something that a collector is going to keep on the card, and I'm certainly not going to keep it on the card. In a lot of ways, and rightfully so, this feels like a toy compared to the Black Series or the Vintage Collection or a lot of the other figures that I review here on the channel. So it's kind of cool because, I mean, they don't really make a lot of toys, I feel like, anymore. It seems like most things like the Black Series and stuff that I would have bought as a kid are now geared towards collectors. It's kind of weird, but this is truly a toy. The packaging is very toy-like. It's not focused on someone keeping it on the card. And on the back, as classic as ever, you have the other characters that you can get, although, I mean, this is what you're getting, but you can see that there is an upcoming Wrecker figure sometime in the future that will be released in this line, and there is a General Grievous. I'm not sure that I will get this figure, to be perfectly honest, because I don't necessarily need it in the Black Series line and the Toy Box line. I'm not trying to be a completionist. I've really narrowed my focus. So I probably won't get them in this line, but it is cool nonetheless that they are making him. Though, of course, we are seeing a toy box Wrecker before we are seeing a vintage collection Wrecker, and that should be criminal. That should definitely be criminal. But General Grievous is one that actually looks pretty interesting. It's very intense as a figure. Like, I just like the design. It looks very menacing and almost reminds me of the Tartakovsky General Grievous in a lot of ways, in like the stylization of the mask. So maybe, just maybe, I will need to get that because it does look pretty interesting. And here on the side, I almost missed it, but there's this nice like portrait of the two characters. Sorry, I can't get it fully turned here in my little studio, but there you can see Captain Rex and Ahsoka next to each other, so that's cool. Now let's take a look at the figures out of the package. And there we go, Ahsoka and Captain Rex out of the packaging, and first impressions, just not even posing them up or anything, it's pretty good. Like, it's it's pretty good, and it's kind of surprising how good it is for what it is. Now, I'm going to restrain myself, and I'm going to push Captain Rex to the back there, and we'll take a look at Ahsoka first. Now, I'm surprised that there's this much articulation on what is essentially like a kid's toy, but I'm also not going to complain because it's quite nice to have a highly articulated figure like this. Overall, the design feels true to the character, although it is slightly simplified from what it is in the Clone Wars, but it still feels like Ahsoka Season 7, like it definitely represents the character well. It's just simplified and maybe a little bit even more cartoonized, if that makes sense. Like, it's definitely animated more than the Clone Wars, even though the Clone Wars is animated. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that I'm conveying that accurately. But it is more animated, and you can see that especially here in the face. It's much more, I guess, anime style, or I'm not sure. It's more childish, definitely. But that's not a complaint. That is just the art style that they are going with all of these figures from the Marvel line to the Star Wars line. It's all much more childish, and it's cool. Now overall, I'd say the paint apps are actually pretty solid on this figure. They're not perfect. There are some areas like right there, and also I noticed here on the skirt where it's just a little bit smudged or something, which I think just comes with the territory of it being more of a child's toy and less of a Hot Toys collectible or even a Black Series. There's more room for error, I think. But overall, I'm impressed, and I think it's really nice, especially with all these like pinstripes that they've got going on basically all of the outfit here. It looks great. Now, one thing I did notice here on the elbow, it seems like they painted the swivel joint, and you can see that that is already scraping off just from taking it out of the package and moving it. And yeah, look, that just completely peeled off there. In fact, I think this one may have been painted out of the box and it's already gone. So that's an issue. They probably cast the elbow in like blue or something and then they painted over it, but that swivel joint looks to be an orange plastic that kind of matches the skin tone here. So I don't know why they felt the need to paint over it, but that will just flake off pretty much as soon as you get it out of the package. So I guess don't be alarmed by that when that happens. I think it will probably happen on every single one of them. And maybe that was just like a factory thing. Maybe they just had the figure, you know, getting painted and it was cheaper to just slap the paint over the joint and have it rub off at later dates. I don't know. Yeah, that's just a thing that I noticed. Then as for accessories, she comes with two lightsabers, both in a very almost transparent light blue, which I guess would be Season 7. And it is actually cool that they got the lightsaber hilts different scale, so the blades are shorter on one than the other, and the hilt is smaller on the other one. So it's kind of like the, I don't know what it's called, but she has the smaller lightsaber and she has the full-size lightsaber, so that's at least accurate on that. I do notice there those little black areas on the hilts. That might be some paint chipping off. I'm not totally sure. And yeah, it looks like some there as well, just from it being in the hand. So there's probably going to be some paint rub if you take the lightsabers out of her hands a lot. I'm not sure how these will hold up over time, but hopefully, you know, if you just have these on display, there will be no issues whatsoever with keeping them in pretty decent condition. Now for articulation with this figure, it's really pretty good, actually. I'm not gonna lie, I was surprised when I got these out of the package and realized that they were more than just like 5 POA or 10 POA or something like that. They're pretty good. At the head there is a swivel joint, and like it's a side to side and it's an up and down. I don't think it's a ball joint necessarily because there's really no tilt side to side that way, but you can look around, you can look up, you can look down, stuff like that with it. So it just appears to be more of a peg and swivel, which is great. It gets all the necessary up and down, looks left, looks right kind of poses out of it. Hinge and a swivel at the shoulders, so it swivels all the way around, swivels up. And this joint is cast in orange, so you're not going to have to worry about any paint rub going on there, which is great. The elbow is just a single joint up, and it's a hinge and a swivel, so you get side to side, up and down. And again, there's going to be paint rub there, so watch out for that. And then the wrist, surprisingly enough, is a hinge and a swivel, so swivel all the way around and then hinge in. The hinge out isn't very great just because of the armor that's back there, but overall, still a very highly posable figure. Then at the waist, there is a swivel all the way around there. The hips are ball jointed, so you can get outward, forward, splits, and there's a nice, there's a nice split there in the soft skirt, so there's a decent range of motion that isn't inhibited by harder plastic there. Good design choice, I feel, because that's just, you know, more play features and more posability with these, which is always appreciated either as a collector or as a kid. I'm sure it's just kind of cool to have a figure that isn't just standing there straight up and down without the ability to move their legs. I should also mention that the head is made out of two pieces, so the face is a harder plastic, and then right here at the headband, this is actually a soft, like gummy plastic, so the tentacles or the leku, whatever these are called, I don't know. I'm sorry, you can sue me. I'm not a real Star Wars fan. These are all soft, so if you're giving a more like aggressive pose, it's nice that they're not going to once again inhibit the articulation there. Now moving to the knees, these are single jointed knees, which gets you to almost 90, which is pretty good. It's interesting that these are in fact using the same style, I guess, as the Black Series figures, so the knee pads are on the thighs, not the knees. I'm wondering where the design choice came from for that in particular, because it's on all the Black Series figures lately, and now it's on the Toy Box figures, which, as I understand it, are not made by Hasbro. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe they have, like, designers between the two companies, but my understanding was that these were manufactured by Disney and Black Series and all that were manufactured by Hasbro. Maybe I'm missing something there, but it's just curious how they've, chosen to actually keep that as a design choice between both lines. It's also a curiosity to me because Hasbro technically has the sole rights to producing Star Wars action figures, or at least they did. So I'm wondering how that fits in with the toy box figures. Are these not qualified as action figures? How exactly do they get around that? I mean, I guess it's Disney, so really they can do whatever they want, and Hasbro probably just has to go along with it so they don't lose the license, but it's curious. It's definitely curious that they were making these, and as far as I can tell, the packaging and the figures, none of them are stamped with Hasbro, so I think that these are just manufactured by Disney. Anyways, moving on to the last feature of this figure, down to the ankles there, they have a hinge and a swivel. Actually, they have a rocker and a swivel, I'm sorry. So they have the hinge back, hinge forward, and then they can rock side to side. Really quite impressive to see rockers on a kid's toy, just a standard, what I would say, non-collector's action figure. It is just a toy, and it's got rockers, it's got really good articulation. It's basically a scaled up and slightly animated vintage collection figure. Like, these are taller than the vintage collection figures. I'll do a comparison later on, but these are quite honestly just really nice action figures. Now moving on to everyone's favorite Captain Rex, and it looks so cool. Like, this is legitimately a Clone Wars line in 2021. This is like the Hasbro Clone Wars line in 2021. It's a little bit bulkier. You can see here the way the waist is really tapered and the chest is really broad. So it's not quite proportional to the actual animated series, but I mean, just look at this. This is as close as you're going to get in 2021 to an actual animated Clone Wars line. And if Disney and Hasbro and whomever might be listening or watching, please make an animated line, even if it's Toy Box. Like, if Toy Box continues and they just make more of these in the animated style, they make more Clone Troopers, 332nd, Bad Batch, make Hauser, make any Clone Trooper you like, and I think the fans will definitely pick it up because this is basically the animated line that so many of us have been asking for. With that said, it's not perfect. It could use a little bit of reworking, but again, I get that this is more of a toy line and less of a collector's line, so there are some issues that I think are just kind of coming out of that. For instance, here on his helmet, he doesn't have the weld lines painted. He's also missing some paint there on the little chin portion there. I don't really know what that is, but he's missing some paint there. Also, for some reason, they just kind of stopped painting the back of his pauldron, even though they took the time to paint the back plate there. So that's curious as well. Again, that just seems a little bit... that seems like a Hasbro move, honestly, but it's not a big deal. I mean, most of the time the figure's going to be displayed this way, and again, it is a toy line, so I kind of give them some leeway in that. And additionally, we have a weird paint app running up the back of his thigh, but then no paint on the back of his knees. So I'm not sure where that happened. That seems like just a design error where they mixed something up, but that paint that is there should be down there, honestly. So again, it's not perfect, but for $10, well, I guess really 10 each, 10 for that and 10 for this, it's not that big of a deal to me. Like, there's small issues that I think just kind of come with the price range as well as the target audience, but overall, I'm very, very pleased with it. For accessories, he comes with 2 of these DC-17 pistols, and honestly, you could almost substitute them for Black Series pistols. They're a little bit more animated, they have less detail in them, but scale-wise, if I can just like lay them over top of each other, they are almost identical. So I guess in the event that you lose one or the other, a Black Series or a Toy Box Blaster, you can just sub them out for each other because they're pretty darn close. I mean, honestly, here, let's actually just let's just do this. Let's see if he can hold the Black Series, and he can pretty well. It's not perfect, but he can hold it. And we'll give the Black Series Captain Rex that I have here the Toy Box Blaster, and once again, he can hold it really, really well. And he does have functional holsters, so you can put those right in there like that. These, along with the comma here, are all molded in this soft plastic, so those actually just stick in there with friction, and they were not going to fall out, which is also nice, because, you know, you don't want to lose these, that's for sure. They're small enough to easily fall down any little ventilation shaft or really anything, and I could see kids losing these rather quickly, but if you keep them in the holster, they will stay there. Now for the articulation on this figure, it's pretty much the same as the Ahsoka figure, maybe a little bit more restricted just because of the armor plating and such, but overall it's the same. It's got the swivel and the hinge and swivel, so you can swivel it side to side. The armor's a little bit restricted by the pauldron, but not too bad, and then you can swivel it up and down, look every which way. And then down to the shoulders, we'll use this shoulder since it's more exposed. You can get it up to there, but again, they're using Black Series designs here. The shoulder is rubber, so it can kind of come up a little bit and you can get the shoulder pad over the torso and you can get a full 90 degrees on that shoulder joint there. So very curious that they're using so much influence from the Black Series line, I guess. So maybe, again, the designers are crossing over. Maybe this is a Hasbro figure, technically speaking, and it's just licensed under Disney and not Hasbro. I don't know. I would love to know the answer to all these questions, but I'm not totally sure. Moving down to the elbow, we have a single joint that's just under 90 degrees. Then down at the wrist, you have the hinge and the swivel, so all the way around. It's an in and out wrist. Both of them are in and out wrists, unfortunately, so there's not an up and a down like we tend to enjoy when we have dual wielding characters or just weapon holding characters in general, but again, no big deal. I think it works. You can still get some pretty good action poses with him without getting that little extra range on the wrist. Moving down to the waist, we have the swivel here all the way around, then ball joints at the waist so you can get the splits, forward, back. He can be running into action pretty easily, actually. Like, that was just me just messing around with that, and that's almost a perfect running pose for him. So you can see he's very posable. The joints aren't exactly tight, but they do hold their position pretty well. So I noticed out of the box they don't feel like I am going to break the figure trying to get the joint to bend, but I also don't feel like he's just going to do like dance a jig when I shake him like that. So it's somewhere in the middle, probably, again, because of like it's a kid's toy. You don't want a kid having something that can't be posed right out of the box. So something that's just to be noted, I guess. You know, if you take these out of the package when you get one, you're going to notice that the joints aren't necessarily as snappy as a Black Series or Vintage Collection figure, but I don't think that that is an issue. I think that that is by design. Then moving down to the knees, we have a single jointed knee that gets you just under 90 degrees there. Odd that the knee pads are painted black with the blue stripe. Again, I'm not sure exactly where that is coming from a design perspective, but yeah, it's there, I guess. Also, once again, there's a better view of that knee not being painted black like it should right there in that little indent. But yeah, what can you say? $10 kids toy. I'm going to give it a pass in a lot of these areas because it is what it is. It's a kid's toy, and it's not necessarily collector grade Hot Toys where I would expect every little detail to be painted in. Then we move down to the ankle, and again, it's a hinge forward, hinge back, and a rocker. The range of articulation with these figures is just so impressive though, because I would just be thrilled to have something like this, something that could get into a good action pose as a kid. I don't really know, but something about it just hits that perfect action figure spot. You know, it just has all the elements that you would want out of an actual toy and not just a collectible. It's posable, it's durable. I don't feel like this is going to break if I was to give this to a child of mine, which I don't have any to give them to, but if I did give them to a child, I feel like they would actually enjoy it and be able to have adventures with it and not just have it shatter into a million pieces. Also, I think the design choice of a non-removable helmet as well as a fixed pauldron are good because, again, a child might play with this, and I can recall the number of Captain Rex figures that are out on the market now that are missing the helmet. It's just, you can't even count the number of figures in the old, like, Clone Wars line. You have so many of them. In fact, I probably have 2 or 3 just, you know, pauldronless, helmetless Captain Rexes in my fodder bin as we speak. I may not buy other toy box figures unless they release Clone Troopers, but I'm going to say that this is a really solid release regardless, even if it's just a standalone release in my collection. I wish I had the Galaxy of Adventures 332nd Clone Trooper to compare these two, because I would love to maybe get a couple of those to go with these guys. However, I was not able to find them ever in stores, and I didn't order any online, and I'm a little stuck. So hopefully I can track down like 2 332nd figures from the Galaxy of Adventures. I can't say that right. The Galaxy of Adventures 332nd Clone Troopers. I want to get 2 of those to flank Captain Rex and go with Ahsoka, and hopefully those scale correctly. I might check online and see if anyone else has reviewed this figure, and if they did a comparison, then I would know before I go out and actually buy those figures. So now let's talk scale. Let's get these figures set up here nice and together. You can see here they actually did a pretty good job of getting the height difference between Captain Rex and Ahsoka. Like, she's a little bit shorter, Captain Rex is a little bit taller. And that's pretty cool. I mean, just in like a standard little like toy line like this, that is a cool little detail to have. So starting things off, let's take a look at how they scale next to a 6-inch Black Series Captain Rex. I'd say these are about 4 inches tall, roughly. So yeah, you got 2 inches of height difference there. They're not going to scale together. I mean, if it wasn't obvious before, it's obvious now. These aren't going to scale together on a shelf, but these are perfect for Clone Wars lovers of all ages, as long as they are 3 and up. So yes, let's just get that disclaimer out of the way. 3 and up, these are perfect for any Clone Wars lovers. And then here they are next to a 3 3/4 inch Star Wars action figure from Hasbro. And yeah, they really don't fit in with either scale, unfortunately. So maybe they're more like 4.5 inches tall. I'm not entirely sure, but they're not going to scale with your 3 3/4 inch collection or your 6-inch Black Series collection, but that's okay. I mean, they are a unique line. They're not going to fit in with either of those lines just because of how stylized they are either. So this is kind of perfect. You have your own unique animated line, and it looks really, really cool. It just does. It looks great. Honestly, I am actually very pleasantly surprised with how much I like these 2 figures. When I ordered them online, I wasn't totally sure, but having them in hand, seeing them, how articulated they are, how the stylization works and everything, I'm pretty pleased. I think they're great. And again, like I said probably a dozen times in this video, Disney and Hasbro or whomever designed these, if you're listening, please make more. Please make more Clone Troopers, more clones. I will buy them, and I think many more collectors will buy them as well because these are nice animated representations of characters. But anyways, that'll do it for this review. So if you liked it, consider subscribing, liking, whatever, the YouTube stuff. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. It's been a blast making these videos, and I'm enjoying it still. As always, there's a link down in the description to my Instagram where I do toy photography. I might actually take the time to do a shot with these figures. It's not my usual thing, but I think they're cool enough that I just might. So you never know. Just follow over there if you want to keep tabs on that. There's also a link to Entertainment Earth if you want to place an order or a pre-order on any new figures coming out. You can do it through that link. Helps out the channel, and you get some cool figures out of it. But anyways, yeah, thank you for watching. Be kind to one another. Be cool. Be friends. Don't be enemies. Don't be doing Order 66. You know what I'm saying? And as always, I will catch you all in the next video.